Hey, we're back. Butchered Sports. Subscribe, give us a like, thumbs up on Twitter. Notification, hit the notification button. Butchered Sports. Hey, some of the people we're following out there, of course, Barstool Sports is a must. When we started Butchered Sports. My brother told me about Barstool Sports. Uh, I casually run across their stuff. I mean, they're fantastic, of course. Gabriel Morency, that you talked about, give him a follow for sure.
Sports Rage.
At Sports Rage, fantastic stuff. Good, raw, emotional, good analysis, but just great. One of the guys you'd hang out with and talk sports with. Um, Lessons from the Dojang podcast from our buddy Patsy Zarilla. Give him a follow. Definitely, tune in. We're going to be bringing you some new things, new features as we go. If you go back and scroll through our videos, through the Butchered Sports videos collection, you'll see we're fairly eclectic. I put up things about gaming. One of the things I put up is FIFA 18 and FIFA 19 reviews on EA Sports. We love the game. We love to play the gaming systems, and if there's good games out there, Madden, 2K19. We'll talk about those from time to time. If you want me to get more in depth on any of the FIFA stuff, I'd be glad to do that. There's definitely an audience that really gets into that. But right now in this season, I would say this time of the year, we're doing a lot of the live sports stuff. So we're here for the second half of the NFL game, the Monday night game, and for some of the NBA stuff. Just real quick, we got back on the TV just to watch what's going on with the start of the second half. The Giants had a really nice drive to start the second half, got down to the 1 yard line. Eli took the ball towards the pylon and got stopped just short. Very next play, they ran the ball with Saquon, didn't make it in, ended up going for it on fourth down. I like going for it on fourth down, but they didn't make it. The actual play call looked like a quick slant. That didn't succeed, and when Eli threw the ball, he kind of threw it just into coverage, right? Across his body. So, not the fourth down call so much, going for a fourth down. But what do you think about the actual play call?
I don't like the play call at all. I think to get a guy that's not mobile to try and be mobile doesn't suit him at all. That's why the throw looked unorthodox. That's why the throw almost looked forced. He's not a runner out of the pocket. It's not his thing. I don't like the design of the play. I think they had four guys going to one side of the ball, and with the non-mobility that Eli Manning doesn't have, I don't want to say it, he was limited in where he could go with the ball. And you could see the coverage all swept to that side of the field. And Eli Manning doesn't have the ability to run it in from the 3 yard line. He's not capable of doing it on that type of play because you have the entire defense already pursuing that side of the field.
And they're compressed into that area. Right. When he ran the ball earlier in the possession, he had more room because of where they were on the field, because of the play call that was played at that time. So, yes, understanding the comment, situationally, he couldn't run in that situation. So he was very limited. The play call limited him to almost like half the field, and his passing lanes were fairly clogged up. So, if you're going to go for it, give yourself a real chance to succeed on fourth down. Otherwise, kick the field goal and get the points. It stinks to come away with just 3 for being on the 1 yard line, but you came away with 0. So, if you're going to go for it on fourth down, then you really need to put together something out of the playbook that's going to give you a chance to succeed.
Right. Yeah, you're looking at all of the weapons you have on your team. Eli is the last resort as a weapon on the offense. You have Saquon.
His playmaking ability, he's throwing the ball.
Yeah. Right. So you have Saquon, of course you have Odell, you have Evan Ingram, you have Sterling Shepard. So there's plenty of weapons out there to get the ball in their hands quickly. And they chose to use Eli as a threat to potentially run. And that just didn't make much sense.
On the other side of the ball here, we got Matt Ryan in the Falcons offense where he was under pressure from inside the 20-yard line. The Giants brought 2 guys from the right side of the defense unabated more or less to Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan found somebody sneaking out of the backfield, turned into a first down, more positive momentum going back again for Atlanta now.
Yeah, they're starting to click now. Atlanta's offense is starting to click. It's easy picking right now for Eli. I mean for Matt Ryan. Just checking a little bit of the NBA action. Milwaukee's up on New York goaltending. 103, 102 with 5:30 left in the fourth quarter. Milwaukee's a team that needs to get over the hump. I mean, they're in a new arena this year. They're getting a lot of juice from that. Fans are incredibly excited about it. Watched this is their second home game. Obviously, it's a sellout. Early in the year, it's a sellout for most teams. But there's an energy about this team, a buzz about this team. Obviously, the Greek Freak, who's potentially an MVP candidate. The guard play is a little suspect. But Giannis has to do the ball up a lot.
Knicks just tied at 105. Just under 5 left.
But all in all, it's a good game. It's a competitive game. A couple other games that we're looking forward to, as I mentioned earlier, the Suns, Warriors, and the Lakers, Spurs. We'll be talking about all that stuff as the night goes on. Some specific stuff and some general chat about anything.
Well, the cool thing is, I'm not sponsored by anybody. We're not sponsored by anybody yet here at Butcher Sports. We'd love to have a sponsor, but we don't have anybody just yet. We're just starting out. But NBA Live, the NBA Pass, NBA League Pass is great. I mean, here we are watching the Bucks and Knicks, and about 4 minutes left to go to the fourth quarter in Milwaukee. As Dan was saying, the Knicks are on the road, and they're down by 1 with just about 4 minutes left to go in the game against a really good Milwaukee team. The Knicks early in the season so far have played some pretty good basketball.
Yes.
From where they were 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even last year, to be playing this style of basketball against a team like Milwaukee in their home court is promising for the Knicks.
Right.
And if you love athletics, if you love watching really great athletes play a game and play it well, get the league pass, man, because you won't be disappointed. You can find something good on every night.
Absolutely. The league pass is probably the best sports package you can get for the value, for the cost. So it's not even close. Nightly basis, you can have anywhere from 5 to 9 games on. And it's, as we've discussed from day one on here, NBA is where it's at. The action, the athleticism, everything about the NBA.
Competitive games
is putting it closer and closer to the level of the NFL. I'm not saying it's going to pass the NFL, but it's as close to the NFL as it's ever been as far as following and just the general the love of that game.
And here's the thing. You've got a sport that can be played every night of the week. And teams can play competitively and at the top of their game probably, 3 nights a week. NFL is trying, and really I think that the product has suffered by making it a 3 or 4 day a week product, because the Thursday night games, everybody knows the level of playing a Thursday night game is usually a lot lower than a Sunday afternoon game, a lot lower than a Monday night game. But yeah, the NBA's got the same level of competitiveness every night of the week. And you don't get burnt out or bored by it because of that fact, and because you're spread out amongst all the teams. There's a storyline going on just about everywhere.
Yep.
From young players, young teams forming, new teammates, LeBron going to LA, of course, a huge story. The Rockets trying to follow up their season last year with Chris Paul and Harden, and how are they going to do it without Ariza, right?
Yep.
You know, how are they going to do it this year in a follow-up fashion without one of their big players?
And Mute.
Yeah, and you know how are the Sixers going to evolve this year? The process. They talk about the process, and now you know they're into that point where the process is supposed to have been matured. So, are they going to take that step? They made the playoffs last year, and are they going to go further this year?
Right.
Boston made the Eastern Conference Finals. Now without LeBron in the Eastern Conference, are they going to fulfill that promise and go to the finals, or is somebody else going to jump up and bite them like the Pacers? Who you know really who has the Pacers on their radar right now? Other than if you're watching us,
Right.
Dan's been talking about them since day one.
Right.
So and you know we'll give you good reasons why. It's not just well I like the Pacers. Why do you like the Pacers? We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about their games.
Quick on the some in-game live odds from FanDuel Sportsbook. We got the Knicks at plus 4.5. With just around 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Right now, I would
Seems
say,
about right.
yeah, I would say the Knicks would be a good play. It's fluid. Obviously, live betting is fluid. It can change on a possession. But if you get them at plus 4 right now, I would think that's a good play.
It's one of those things where, you know, the tricky thing is, of course, you know, Milwaukee just scores right now and they get fouled. They're going to look at an and one. 4 minutes is a long time, and you're going to have these fouls, and you're going to have a lot of the home team, you know, looking to pull away at the end of the game. But the Knicks are playing well. They're moving the ball. They're getting good shots, and when they get the good shot, they're knocking it down.
Right.
So,
or if you are in live game betting, wait it out. Wait it out till a minute 40 left, a minute 20 left. Play the odds like that. You might get a line of plus 7, plus 6. Get it back to recover easily.
yeah.
Or they'll Beckham just gonna have a big pass, drive on the play.
This will tell you a lot about that 4-point line right there. Milwaukee buries a 3. When he stepped into it, still a lot of time. There's an eternity of time left.
Middleton's having a good game tonight.
You know, the Knicks have a chance to really do something on this next possession. If they respond, this pretty much
This is a big possession.
comes down to the end.
That line.
Yeah, if the Knicks don't score, then that line, that 4.5-point line looks real good if you took Milwaukee.
Right. But you're gonna have, as usual, fouls and all kinds of stuff. An NBA game literally goes to the last tenth of a second if you're betting NBA. There's never in a 4 to 8 point game, you're never safe.
Yeah.
In hoops. Never if you bet the game. Never. I've had games where I bet and it looked great. I had it in the bag and the team gives up a layup for no reason. And of course, as a bettor, as a gambler, I feel like they did it to fuck me. I mean, pretty much that's what the feeling is. They gave up the layup with 0.2 seconds left. It meant nothing to them. The line's 5. They gave up a layup. Cut the game to 4.
And if you bet, you know the feeling.
Yeah, it's sickening, disgusting. It has you questioning why you woke up that morning. But you know, everybody's had bad beats. Bad beats are one of the reasons that you bet them. You bet for the love, the adrenaline you get from losing. It's unmatched. People who don't gamble don't understand the adrenaline rush. And you can't explain it. You have to gamble to understand the rush of adrenaline you actually get from losing. It's a feeling that's unlike anything else in sports. You know, we got a saying that good teams win and great teams cover. So that's pretty much how the motto is for a lot of gamblers. You know, if you don't cover that spread, I don't care who you are, what your record is. For me, that day, you're not good. You're not good enough. Milwaukee just hit a 3 there. That's the second straight 3 they've hit. And they had a 3-point play in front of that.
So in the last minute and a half, this has gone from a tie game to a 7-point game.
They have 9 points in the last 9.5.
And Milwaukee's playing tough defense down the stretch here.
They're contesting at the hoop.
Every play.
Yeah. Giants are inside the 20. About the 17, 18 yard line.
Nick's shot selection is starting to
Waver.
yeah.
Bail out there.
They're not taking their time to set a good play. They're just kind of getting the ball in scorer's hands, and he's putting it up from any angle. Which, hey, the NBA, it can go, but they were taking much better shots, had much better looks before the 4-minute mark, 3-minute.
I look for them to go to Hardaway. He's their go-to guy. You gotta get the ball in the Hardaway's hands. Like Lou Middleton is on him. And you just help the hell out of him.
Yeah. And it's for Milwaukee. There's no reason to commit that foul.
No.
Playing tough defense is great, but you don't need to give him free shots.
Right.
With no time coming off the clock.
Eli with a brutal pass.
And now they're bogged down at 4th and 10. So you start to look at the last decision that they made to go for it on 4th down, 4th and goal. If they picked up the points there, they're down 10-6, ifs and buts and all that kind of stuff we talked about. But now this decision here, or the decision on 3rd down, might not have been as desperate either. You
Right.
start to look at how do you play things, how do you make play calls. Now you're at 4th and 10, you got to go for the field goal here from where they are. See what happens before we comment. And he split the upright. So had they got the field goal the last time, it'd be a 10-9 game. Still, it's a one-possession game for the Giants, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable if it was a 1-point game.
Right. This little DFS sickness here. I got Andrew Wiggins tonight, who's been an absolute bum. He's got 3.5 points at a team of a tier league I'm in. Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan going at 10:30 tonight. Kyle Lowry and Vucevic from Orlando. That's 60 points from Giannis, 37 from Kawhi, 48 from Lowry, 48 from Vucevic, 3.5 from Wiggins. If Wiggins wasn't a stiff tonight, I'd be in some good money. I need DeRozan to play out of his mind to make up for Wiggins' awful night. And that's in a 99-88 lead over the Indiana Pacers we referenced earlier. With 2 minutes left. We'll be checking that game off soon. It's 2 minutes left in the game. It's an 8-point game right now.
So all of a sudden, Milwaukee's up 9. Greek Freak threw one down on the other end. Knicks has another shot.
Terrible shot.
With 25 seconds left.
Brutal.
Yeah, so it's looking like it's going to be a 9 or 11-point win for the Bucks. They'll probably just dribble out the clock more or less here.
Yep.
But that's the home team. The Knicks played a much better game than an 11-point loss.
Right. Like you said, their shot selection in the last 3.5 minutes was atrocious.
Yep.
It was awful. It was just brutal.
And give the Bucks some credit for the defense they played down the stretch, but I would think the Knicks could have gotten some better looks.
Right.
They rushed some possessions, they rushed some shots.
We discussed earlier, the Wizards trailblazers are doing great.
Yeah.
This should be a good follow, good watch. You got 4 tremendous guards. That's a hell of a matchup. Beal Wall against McCollum and Lillard.
All right. So while we have a little lull in the action, they're kicking off to the Falcons now, the Giants. Today we have a little bit of the Monday night football from England. Not the NFL type of football, but the Premier League. And Arsenal versus Leicester City. Arsenal won 3-1. Leicester City, if you remember, a couple of years ago was the surprise EPL champions. Came out of nowhere to do it. really that rags to riches story. Great story out of soccer to win the Premier League. It'd be like, it'd be basically like the Pirates coming out and winning the World Series next year, or like the Raiders coming out and winning the Super Bowl next year after the year they had this year. So, but anyway, Arsenal, the story within the story there is Arsenal has always kind of been that just next to the top 4 teams in the Premier League. You've got Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Just outside of that, top 4 is Arsenal and Tottenham. But right now, the way Arsenal's playing, they're in that conversation of being top 4. And that's important for everybody that knows, soccer and European soccer. Being in the top 4 of the Premier League would guarantee them a spot in the UEFA Champions League play is becoming, well, it already is, but it's becoming so much more important to all the big clubs around the European soccer world. So Arsenal playing as well as they are is putting them in a position to be in that next year. Bigger money, bigger sponsors, bigger exposure. The knock on Arsenal has always been they choke. They can't finish. When they play against the top 4 teams, they always lose those games. But right now, the way they're playing doesn't look like the same old Arsenal. So we'll see how they finish. In the Italian league, Serie A. Yesterday, we talked a day or so ago. We talked about Milan and AC Milan and the Inter Milan matchup, and that matchup turned out to be it lived up to all its billing, and it was a close game. 1-0, Inter Milan won over AC Milan. So right now they have the bragging rights, and I know Napoli beat Udinese 3-0 as well. So if you follow me on Twitter or you follow some of my posts on Butchered Sports, you know that I'm always talking about Napoli. The big thing this year is Ronaldo went to Serie A in Italy and plays for Juventus. He left Real Madrid. Napoli came in second behind Juventus last year, just barely. But I'm hoping that somehow Napoli could overtake Juventus, but they lost the head-to-head in the first matchup. And I got to say, Juventus is stacked. They legitimately have a team that could win the UEFA Championship with the squad they have right now. They brought back some of the best defenders in Italy, adding Ronaldo to that team, and the midfield that they have is just insane. So stay tuned. I'll do some specials on soccer as the season goes on, but I like to throw in the scores every once in a while and talk about what's going on.
Atlanta is pretty easy to find their way down the field. Throwing the back, September Coleman on the backfield from a 32-yard game. Just under 30 seconds left in the third quarter. Still a 10-6 lead for Atlanta, but they are driving.
Did you happen to see the thing about Roman Reigns?
No. I didn't get the catch. I looked this one up.
So tonight, Monday Night Raw, Roman Reigns came out and relinquished his belt and is stepping away from wrestling. He's battling leukemia.
Oh, jeez.
So he announced that he's lived with leukemia for the last 11 years because he had put it in remission, but now he has to fight it again. So
prayers up for him.
Absolutely, prayers up. That family, great family in wrestling.
Yep.
Great competitor, puts on a great show. No matter how you feel about him, in the wrestling world, in his character, when he plays his character well. Great athlete. If you watch the things that he does in the ring, I just hope the best for him. So, absolutely.
Yeah, he got put over a few years back. The WWE community, wrestling community at large, really didn't support that move by Vince at the time. They thought he didn't earn his stripes. I think it was as much of they didn't think his size matched his wrestling style. They wanted a more aggressive, intense type, over the top guy, and he's kind of transformed into that over the last 2.5 years, to a more aggressive nature, and I think more and more fans bought into that style. And like I said, obviously, thoughts and prayers to him, battling, what he's battled for, would you say, the last 11 years?
11 years, he said in his tweet or his speech tonight. Yep. So here we go. Dwight Howard, not on the current road trip with his team, has a back injury. Wizards early on here in Portland playing well. 12-11 really early to see how things evolve in this game. But usually love watching the Wizards just to see Beal and Wall and whatever the other three on the court do around them. I mean, sometimes Otto Porter gets really hot, and they have some interesting players with them, but to me it's all the Beal and Wall show.
Yeah, there's so much is determined by their play. They got nice bit pieces. Morris is good, but you can't depend on him to be a reliable go-to guy. Kelly Oubre off the bench still hasn't really found his groove. He can have a game, give you 20, and 2 nights later he might score 2 points in the playoff game. So you don't know what's going to get out of Kelly Oubre. Porter, like Frank was saying, could have his moments, 6 threes in a quarter, but you just never know. It's so reliant on Wall. Wall's the number one. Bill's scoring machine, but it's all dictated on John Wall. Wall has to carry them so much.
Falcons respond to the field goal. They're back up by 7 now, 13-6. So the Giants have to find a way to put a ball in the end zone.
They need to open it up.
Yeah.
They got the weapons. They need to open it up. They need to give Eli time. And they need to have. They got to call the plays. I mean, it's so much in football. Whether it's high school, college, pro, play calling is so important. And it's not. It sounds so easy, but it's just the reality. So many games come down to poor decision making by the coordinators. It determines outcomes. When you look at the Super Bowl, Atlanta was in against New England. There's no way you lose that game if you call a good game in the last 7 minutes of that game. You're up 28-12. You can run the clock down to 4 minutes instead of dropping back and throwing the ball 3 times. When you look at the Seattle, New England Super Bowl, play calling. You don't want more Sean Lynch, who's been running for 6.7 yards a carry in the second half. I mean, play calling. You have to have your mind in the game, But
I'll tell you, one of my favorites. Oh man, I'm going to draw a blank. Sorry about that. But was the head coach for the Cardinals, just retired last year. He was the interim head coach for Chuck Pagano when he went out with the Colts. Offensive coordinator for the Steelers before that.
Yeah, I see his face.
Yeah. I can't believe I can't remember his name right now.
I had so many names went through my head.
That's terrible. Getting old is terrible.
Right. I keep thinking of one that I know it's not Earhart, it's the other guy.
Right.
He's an announcer now for CBS.
Yeah. Anyway, if you look at his play calling over the years, and I'm talking many years, this guy was a coordinator in college, a pro coach at college for Temple. I mean, I can remember the places, the stops the guy made, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was the head coach at Temple, and over the years, he has just evolved and thought about how to spring guys open on routes, how to find seams in the field to make his quarterbacks and his receivers productive. The things that he did for the Colts that year, whenever and look at the Colts over the last couple of years since he's been gone, they've struggled. But what he did for them, what he did for the Steelers when he was the offensive coordinator with Big Ben.
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians, that's it. This is a guy, and they won the Super Bowl. The Steelers won the Super Bowl when he was there with his play calling. He knew how to get guys open, how to open up the field for his playmakers. Head coach, definitely adequate, but as a coordinator, superb.
Right. And some guys are just that much better as coordinators when they take the step up. It's only 3 feet to the left or 3 feet to the right, but the responsibilities that are lumped on a head coach takes a whole new view of the game plan.
Absolutely.
Everything now you have control over the whole entire program.
And you've got to leave some of those things to other people that you might have been great at.
Right, and you're looking at like the Browns, for instance. Hugh Jackson was a great coordinator with the Bengals. Now he's with the Browns. They took his responsibilities away from him, gave him Todd Haley, and now Hugh Jackson now is coming out saying he wants to resume some of the play calling duties. So I see friction coming.
Oh yeah,
between Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley, and I'm sure it's already begun.
He said something in the. Not only did he say he wants to take some of the play calling responsibilities back, he said the words, "I'm the head coach,"
Right.
in the post-game press conference. Just strange words to use. Like, everybody knows you're the head coach. Why do you got to say that?
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely some friction
And
going
that's
on there.
something you don't go in the media and do that. You don't go to a press conference and air that out there. That's the worst thing you could have on a staff. You do that behind closed doors. You do that in a coach's meeting. You air out your grievance with each other, whatever the case may be. Hash it out like men. You don't take that to the media and put it out there like that. That just causes way more stress on the players now. They're going to be asked about it. The front office is going to be asked about it. You're bringing undue pressure and scrutiny onto a team that is already starting to flail now. They're competitive.
But they're losing these close games, overtime games.
Right. And moving forward ahead a little bit, they play the Steelers this week in Pittsburgh. And early on right now feeling, I think the Steelers lay the wood to them. I got a feeling that's going to be a game where Cleveland gets hammered. I think they're going to get the business. I think it's going to be a 2-score, 14, 17-point win going away for Pittsburgh. I really believe Pittsburgh coming off a bye, Cleveland playing down in Florida, overtime game. There's dissension in the coaching staff. You can feel it. That's not a good remedy to be going into Pittsburgh with. Coming off the first game of the year, they tied. When the game in Pittsburgh definitely thought they should have won.
6 turnovers.
Up 21-7 in the game and tied.
Yeah.
And you had Boswell missed a field goal that was makeable for him. So, everything right now is stacking up against the Browns coming into Sunday's game.
Yeah, the health of their team, their first teamers, as we talked about in a previous episode, is shaky right now. So you add that into the mix of what Dan's talking about too, and it's problematic. And they're coming to Pittsburgh. It's tough to win there. Pittsburgh has struggled earlier in the year, but seems to have remedied a lot of their problems. And say what you want about the Bengals. It's a rivalry game in the NFL on the road. They won that, and they won against Atlanta when Atlanta was struggling defensively, but they were definitely hot offensively coming into that game against Pittsburgh. There was no sign of this, this Atlanta production right now, where you see a 13-point Atlanta game in the fourth quarter. When they came into Pittsburgh, everybody in the national media was talking about the team that wins this game between the Steelers and the Falcons is the team that scores the most, because both teams are going to score a lot of points. They were talking about maybe being a 52-48 game, a 48-45 game. So a little different scenario now, but so I agree with you, Dan. I think the Steelers are lining up to be a real tough test, if not almost impossible test for Cleveland this week.
Yeah. they're going to they're basically running into a buzzsaw. They're going to go into a hostile environment, and the team is not all on the same page, and that's not the way you want to go in a game like that.
So switching gears a little bit, just watching this Portland Wizards game. Wizards just made a nice defensive stop early in the game, first quarter, but kind of late in the first quarter, 25-21. Wizards showing some good moxie to kind of keep this game close in the first quarter. Portland has been at home their first 3 games of the season, I believe.
Yeah.
So they've been comfortable, sitting at home, played the Lakers and pretty much, handled them fairly easily in game 1. Great guard play again for Portland too, McCollum and Dame Lillard, who, probably, I mean, if you put the 4 guys around Dame Lillard that play in Golden State, everybody would know Dame Lillard's name. Damian Lillard is
He makes
fantastic.
the All-Star game every year.
Yeah. So, and believe me, the heart on that guy and the passion and what he wants to do and what he wants to accomplish, he's going to carry that team.
Yep.
So he already does, but I mean, you're going to see and hear more about him every year.
He does it all. He's got the right mindset, the mind frame, and he's a winner.
Yep.
Come from a small college, drafted in the first round, and he's been productive every year. 27-25, under 2 left, Portland up, first quarter. Norris Jenkins is playing off Julio Jones all night. He's giving him free catches all night.
Yeah, he's definitely playing too far off him. But that was a drag route where he had to kind of like navigate. Yeah, he had to navigate through 2 or 3 offensive players, 2 or 3 defensive players across the field, and he made the tackle. It was dicey, but he got him down 3rd and 3. It's a big drive here. If the Falcons get more points here, it almost becomes game time. Hate to say that with 9 minutes left to go in the game, but
Just going on how the Giants' offense has looked all night, they haven't established anything. It's the first game for the Giants that Saquon Barkley hasn't been a pivotal player in the game.
yeah,
And even their losses, he's been, he's been over 100 yards total offense every game as a rookie.
yeah. So yeah, if this becomes more than a 1 possession game, and Atlanta is doing what they didn't do in that Super Bowl right now. They're taking time off the clock as they drive.
And Jason Witten with the most obvious comments of the night. If they score in any way, it's a 2-possession game. If they kick a field goal. And common sense. He's Jason Witten is bad. He says stuff my 6-year-old daughter could say. They thought they might be getting a Tony Romo type just when he played for Dallas. He's nowhere near Tony Romo on the microphone.
No, a nice cutback, big hole opened up for Coleman,
Touchdown.
untouched into the end zone.
The Giants are in a bad way this year.
30-yard run.
In a bad way. They're in an NFC East. It's pretty much wide open. They have no chance to be a competitive team in that division.
All it would have taken was a couple wins. At this point, they'd be right there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be out of it.
And now you start to see the Giants' heart on defense starting to wane. They're that literally untouched on a 35-yard run up the middle.
Yeah, I mean, going untouched from 30 yards out.
Up the middle.
It's hard to believe the Giants have fallen this far. A franchise like them just doesn't seem right that they could go this level. But they've been struggling for a few years now.
Comes back to Eli Manning.
Yeah.
Eli Manning, he's not good enough. He's not good enough to be productive with the talent that's there. I mean, at the end of the day, benched last year, coach and GM essentially were fired because of that benching. No other reason they were fired. The Mariners caught too much heat from local New York media. Mike Francesa, a fan, was grilling, crushing the head coach and a GM for that move. And the Mariners felt the heat from the local fan base in New York. There comes a point in time where you cut bait, though. He gave you 2 Super Bowls. Be happy with that, and you got to move on. You know, at some point, you have to assess the talent that's at that position with an unbiased eye. You have to separate yourself from what he did for you and look for what's the best for your future. And you know, not saying that playing Geno Smith in that game was the right decision, but making the change, you know, just like we talked about going for a 4th down. Is it right to go for a 4th down, or is the play call is the problem? You know, is it right to pull out Eli Manning versus who they put in for? You know what I mean? So
Right.
the idea of pulling him, I had no problem with it at that time. Now, Geno Smith, I can understand that people being upset that it was Geno Smith, but that goes back to your organizational decisions you make through the draft and through free agency.
If that's all you got there to
Right.
replace him with.
Right. So, I mean, all in all, I think that they obviously wanted to make a move, but they, you know, there was a lot of factors in why New York people were pissed. Obviously, 2 Super Bowls being the number one factor. The other factor was it broke a game started streak that Manning had,
Right.
which, you know, understandable for a diehard New York fan and stuff like that to be mad about something like that. But in saying that, also, you got to be as a fan progressively thinking also.
Right.
You can't be a fanboy to the point where you don't want your team to try to get to that next step. You know,
Right.
people question the draft of Saquon Barkley, you know, versus drafting Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, you know, any of the quarterbacks that are available after Baker. And, you know, personally, I feel that Saquon Barkley was the right pick. You know, they could have easily got Teddy Bridgewater
Yeah.
to be the backup this year in New York. Obviously, the Jets had him and traded him.
Yeah.
So the Saints, you know, you got the Saints. It's a team that's to be looked at as a progressive team. Breeze is actually still playing at the high level, but they still went ahead and made a trade for Teddy Bridgewater. So they know it's eventually could be turned over to him. So I mean, it's just organizationally, teams, you know, to build your program for the future, you know.
There were 4 or 5 quarterbacks that could have been gotten. Bridgewater being one of them. Alex Smith. I mean, Alex Smith is no long-term answer, but you could have done something with him. They could have done something with. I mean, they could have possibly put something together for Kirk Cousins.
Right.
You know, if you really wanted to do something, that's to me the guy that somebody like the Giants could have been looking to as their next long-term starter.
Right.
And there's a few teams I would say that about too. I mean, like Ben Roethlisberger is still playing at a level that Eli's not, but you just don't know when that day comes. Or here comes Barkley finally breaking through. Yeah, but I mean, you just don't know when that day comes where it all breaks down for Roethlisberger. You know, he's had his moments where he's been very sloppy over the last couple of years, but then he gets hot again and he looks like himself or better than himself. There's times where, because of his IQ on the football field and his remaining abilities, that you're like, no way would we want anybody else in this position. But if you look at the age of Roethlisberger and the age of Cousins, and you look at what's left on the tread for each of those players, I'd argue the Steelers should have made a run at that. You know, but you'd have to convince Kirk Cousins that he's going to sit for a year or two.
I think the Steelers did make an excellent pick with Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
I think Rudolph will be the next in line. He has all the attributes to be a quality NFL quarterback. And with the building blocks the Steelers have with this draft class they have this year, their offensive talent is there.
Well,
and it's the young. They're replenishing it without having to play them.
And that's the wise way to do it, because you don't have to convince a rookie that he's developing behind Ben Roethlisberger. There's no problem there. It's the right way to do it, absolutely. Which is what the Giants didn't do. If your organizational depth is Geno Smith, and that's your option to go to, that's why when we say how far they've fallen, that's part of it.
Right.
As you said, you know, the organization left the coaches with Geno Smith as the backup.
Right.
I mean, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, when you got a 35-year-old quarterback, he's 37 now, 35, 36-year-old quarterback, that's your backup?
Yeah, that's awful management of the roster. It just doesn't make sense when you have talent, an offensive dominant team, and you have no legit backup for the quarterback position for any reason, whether injury or just not in a rut, 2-3 game rut or whatever it may be. And Geno Smith is your answer. That's tough on the coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all in all, though, more than likely they're gonna have a top pick, top 3, top 5 pick. The truth is, the quarterback class coming out this year isn't nowhere near what this past season was. So, but I mean, you never know. I mean, the drafting a quarterback is so much more than just the player and how he was in college. You have to go with the coaching,
right?
So they're getting coached right. They're gonna have so much of what a quarterback's abilities show are talent around him and the coaching his first 2 years in the league. That's why you see a lot of these young quarterbacks that make it far. They see the defense carries. That was the big thing about Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
First, he was carried by his defense. They didn't put too much on his plate. But he came in the second game of the year.
Right.
And he did enough to get them there, and he made plays for them to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, throughout the playoffs, he played great. Super Bowl, he didn't have a great game. But
Right.
throughout the playoffs, he played tremendous.
Right.
But you look at like Baker Mayfield with the Browns. They're starting to build a team. John Dorsey came from the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at his draft status, his draft stock he's had for the last 5 years with the Chiefs. He's implementing that same style. He's a scout at heart.
Yeah.
John Dorsey. He's been a scout for 25 years. He knows talent, and he's not afraid of risky talent either.
Right.
He'll bring in guys that are, right on that line of a potential suspension maybe in a year. But he wants to gather as much talent and equity as he can.
Right.
So, bringing in Jarvis Landry, who's not a problem off the field at all, but, a guy like Antonio Callaway from Florida, who had issues. He actually sat his whole senior year because of issues, criminal charges and so on. But the talent is there on the kid. He had one hiccup in the preseason this year, but since the season started, there have been any issues with him. He's a potential number 1 receiver for the Browns. And the list goes on and on with that team. They're building, stockpiling draft picks that are paying off for being terrible. And now you build around it. Now you got to hopefully for the Browns a quarterback that could be their answer.
Right.
So it's long-winded talking about certain subjects or topics, but just things that are coming to our head. Talking about whatever. As we're watching the 20-6 game Atlanta, 5:30 left.
But
Giants
this is
are
what's
mounting
going.
whatever we drive here.
I mean, watching what's happened with the Giants has triggered the idea of how these teams build and not let these kind of lulls happen. It's hard in the NFL to stay consistently good. There's a few organizations that do it. I mean, obviously New England for the whole Brady Belichick era has been better than good. They've been great. They've stayed on top. But there are other teams that have stayed very, very good throughout that time period as well, and they don't have They don't have sub 500 seasons.
Right.
They stay playoff bound. They stay, deep into the playoffs.
Look at the Packers.
The Packers
Packers had Favre, you draft Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And Aaron Rodgers sits for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, if he's not the best, he's in that top 3-4 guys at that position. So I mean, and you have Breeze, you bring in Rivers.
Right.
So I mean, you got to plan. You can't be scared to draft the next player for that position.
Right.
You can't let that player's status on your team scare you away from drafting his replacement.
Right.
That's an issue that teams battle with. The established guy, is he going to ruffle his feathers? I mean, even Ben wasn't happy about Mason Rudolph being drafted. He pretty much come out and said, I'm not going to show him anything,
Yeah.
And, you can go to that two ways. I mean, it's understandable, competitive player, he doesn't want to come off the field.
Right.
He doesn't want to. But I think at the end of the day, I think Ben is going to help Mason Rudolph.
He will.
I think behind closed doors, he's going to do what he needs to do for the organization of
Right.
Pittsburgh. Because he say we want to bat him as a jerk, he's this or that. At the end of the day, he loves the Steelers. And he's going to be a Steeler for life. So, I think at the end of the day, he will be the person to help Mason Rudolph transition into that position.
Almost all those quarterbacks at that top level, long-time starters, let's put it that way. I'm not quoting elite quarterbacks, I'm saying long-time starters for their team. Look at Joe Flacco. He was openly upset about Baltimore drafting a quarterback.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, knowing that his heir apparent was probably in the camp in Garoppolo. I mean, this wasn't the guy who kept the seat warm for him for 10 games, Matt Castle, and you knew that when Matt Castle went somewhere else, he was Matt Castle. Jimmy Garoppolo is a legit talent.
Right.
And it's pretty clear Brady wasn't real happy about having him. Right?
No, he pretty much forced Belichick to get rid of him.
So interesting stuff, and a little bit of a tangent, but this is sports talk. This is the kind of stuff. Back to this Wizards game, 44-40, Portland over Washington halfway through the second quarter. Still a lot of a half left here.
Wizards on 7-0 run.
Yeah,
Last minute.
Portland had been up 10 at one point. They were up 40-30 at one point. Now it's 44-41. So if you look at that, that's 11-4. They outscored them 11-4.
Yeah. In a short time frame.
Yep.
With Wall on the court. Wall just come back in now, but he was off the court for the majority of that run.
Yep. So looking like a real competitive game. Hopefully it'll stay this competitive the whole game. I mean, I think Portland will make their runs and see if they can get away from the Wizards. But if the Wizards keep reeling them back in, it can be a competitive game till the end.
Yep.
Giants finally got in the end zone.
Saquon.
Yep. So it's back to a one-score game with about 5 minutes left to go.
He's at 94 yards from scrimmage as of now. So he had a streak going of over 100 yards from game 1 till tonight, which is pretty good for a rookie. Over 100 yards from scrimmage. They used him on that drive.
Yeah.
They used him a lot on that drive.
You gotta wonder why
they hadn't used him from the start of the game.
Exactly.
Or when they were in goal line situations 2 other times.
Yeah.
They did get stuffed on the one run.
On first down.
Right. But, I would think with the weapon as good as he is, I would use him. I'd run until the wheels came off. And a game that's that close, that much of a dogfight, you have something back there that's elite. You gotta get him touches. As many touches as you need. Especially with Eli getting pressured so much. You think he'd run some dump offs, some quick passes to him, or draws, or blitz. You got to see. You got to know what you're doing there. We're going for 2 here.
All the way back, Washington all the way back to
This is a tricky call here. Going for 2.
Yeah, I mean you could be set up to tie the game with an extra point. Oh,
Dropped it.
it was there for the taking.
There you go.
Odell was there. The ball was there.
That's a terrible decision to go for two.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I mean, not just because it didn't convert,
But you
but
force yourself now to have to go for two to tie the game.
yeah. And Booger's saying the same thing. I'm not understanding why you go for two there. Beckham should have caught that. I mean,
No
not the
excuses.
best pass,
But
but
that's
he's got a
hands.
yard and a half separation by the time the ball.
Gotta catch it.
Yeah.
But I still don't like going for two.
Yeah. The cornerback Alfred comes in at the very end, but the ball should have been caught well before that.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, you know, I know everybody loves Beckham, and yes, he is a talent. I know that. I'm not trying to argue that point. He's a great receiver, but you say Thielen yesterday.
Yes.
Thielen makes the catch right now.
All day.
You throw him that ball, he's bringing it in.
Yeah. He's got record for most consecutive 100-yard games to start the season with 8. So that Dylan is the real deal.
Yeah.
And that's a good game next Monday night. Saints at Minnesota, the rematch of the Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it, the Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah.
In the
playoffs
last year.
Yeah.
So that should be an interesting game next Monday. Both teams coming off a big win. Minnesota winning 34-17 at New York. Defeated the Jets. And the Saints winning at Baltimore 24-23. Tucker with an unbelievable miss of an extra point for him. Great catch.
Yep.
Julio Jones is torn his team apart tonight. Torn him up.
Yeah. And he's having a night. He's definitely an elite receiver. Part of it, like you said, Dan, the Giants' coverage is questionable. He made a nice play on that. A lot of concentration because that ball, I think, was tipped. If it wasn't tipped, it was really close to being tipped. Had to have a lot of concentration on it. I think it was tipped. Very slightly, but just enough to put anybody off.
Right.
The way he was running that route, it just kind of got behind him a little bit because of the tip. But he was able to gather it in. Yeah, Julio Jones is just having a night tonight.
Absolutely. Stay in bounds.
That's a good play there. Getting a tackle for loss, forcing him out of bounds, saving your timeouts.
Yes, stay in bounds. Go down. You're losing yards anyways.
Yeah.
Just fall down.
Julio Jones, 9 receptions for 104 yards and 0 touchdowns. Situational, I mean, it's 0 touchdowns, but he's put him in position to score their points. He's sustained drives. He's put him down the field.
Yeah, he has the most receiving yards in the NFL history without a touchdown in this season right now. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
He's over 800 yards receiving without a touchdown.
Has anybody else ever done that?
No. I can't imagine it. And that's ridiculous.
That is.
So, but Falcons, obviously, in the division they're in, this is a win they had to have. They're in a super competitive division with the Saints, the Panthers,
The Bucks.
the Bucks. Everybody in the division won yesterday,
Yeah.
so you got to keep up. You know, especially at home, you got to win at home. When you have the Saints win on the road yesterday, Carolina won on the road yesterday, the Bucks obviously were home yesterday, but you know the class in your division won on the road. So you know this division will come down to the final 2-3 weeks. I believe there's a head-to-head matchup in week 16 and 17. They pair off against each other back-to-back weeks. And there's Joe Tessitore. It's like the catch of the year.
Did you see?
First down.
Did you see the
2012 game.
Falcons coach on the sideline though? I mean, he was springing. Watch if they show at the end of the play.
What, first down, first down?
He's jumping like a little kid. I don't know if they'll show it, but he comes in right here. He should come in. They're not going to show it.
Just about the angle. That's a first down all day, though.
Yeah.
Big catches he's had. He came in tonight. I think it was 8 for 8 on third downs. All of them converting this, right? For first down.
You see him jumping a little bit right there, but he starts jumping all the way across. Here he comes. See him? See him? You can see his foot. Look, 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 look. There you go. See him?
Yeah. That's great.
He jumps like 3 or 4 times after the thing, too.
You must be listening to Tessitore on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Got him excited.
I'm ready to go out and play myself.
Right. The Falcons are about 2 first downs away from sealing this game.
Yeah, 3.5 minutes left. Matt Ryan with a good play fake. Rolls the other way.
These guys are smart. 17 straight completions from Matt Ryan.
That's incredible. What an aggressive call there. I thought maybe they get conservative in that 2 tight end set. But Hardy's ability to understand, don't go out of bounds, dive down.
And just taking a peek over this Wizards Portland Trailblazers game. I just watched their exchange. It's 52 to Wizards with a 3-pointer, and then bang, it's good with 3.5 minutes left to go. They're up 3 now, 55-52. But on the previous possession, Portland had the ball. They scrambled. They had a little kind of drive and kick.
Right.
And on the drive and kick, the pass came into the guy at the 3-point line at his feet,
Right.
real low, and he had to kind of reach down and reset the
Gather and
ball.
shoot.
Yes, and it was not in a position to be able to make that shot. And it just reminded me of how fluid and how good the Warriors are. When they make those plays,
Right.
it's always on the money.
Right.
It's always ready.
Led the league in 4 straight years of assists.
Exactly. Or the guy on that wing wouldn't have shot that ball. Maybe the ball comes in low like that, but instead of taking that shot, he'll come up, pump fake, and then make a pass to another guy
Right.
until they get the shot where they're totally settled and ready to go.
Right. The Warriors' philosophy is the best passes to the open guy.
Yeah.
And that's it. The way they move the ball is remarkable. They're so far advanced on the offensive side compared to almost any team in the league. I mean, their skill in passing is remarkable. Like I said, they led the league 4 straight seasons in assists.
And it's with a purpose. Not passing with a purpose. It leads to points.
Yep.
It leads to big points for them. They score so many times backbreaking possessions on teams and just keep piling them on.
Yep. They have backbreaking shots.
Yep.
This is the play of the game here. If the Giants have any hope, they'll force them to something deep. It's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1.
They really, again, that looked too easy. They picked up 5 yards. They weren't hard yards at all.
No, you have to have a defensive stand. You give it 5 yards and run up the middle. That's not coaching. That's effort from the team.
Yeah.
There's no coaching that can solve that problem. That's your team not giving the effort they need to give.
So now you got a 3rd and 1, and guess what? They don't even have to get this. So it's going to be comfortable for them. Oh, and they jumped offside. Wow. I think that's against Atlanta.
Look like they're moving on the right side.
Yeah.
First.
And I'm just sitting here saying how comfortable it's going to be for them, and they jump offside.
Concentration.
Yeah.
Focus.
They had all the momentum. They had, to me, after that 3rd and 6 run that went so easily for 5 yards, you're on the positive side of the 50 with a touchdown, 8-point lead,
Right.
touchdown 2-point conversion, and instead of being 3rd and 1, you go back to 3rd and 6 again. Dumb.
Right.
Just a bad, like you said, lack of concentration.
And the clock stopped.
2 guys jumped. It wasn't even 1.
Right. Great tackle.
Yeah.
They get the 2-minute warning, 20-12 score. Be about a 50-yard field goal. If they try a field goal. They got a 4th and 2.5, long 3.
So yeah, on that whole exchange, the Falcons lost field position by probably a yard and a half, 2 yards. Because even if they had gotten stuffed on the 3rd and 1,
Right.
they still were a yard ahead of where they are right now. They get 2 yards ahead.
Yeah, they're out of field goal range. Oh, in the dome, no. It's about a 55-yarder, bro. And if you miss it, you're giving Eli the ball at the 50-yard line with probably a minute 50 left. So you go back to play calling. If the Giants kick the field goal earlier in the quarter, you know, it's a 20-15 game. And they probably kick the extra point. It's 20-16. You know, I mean, there's just so many things. You know, little things in sports add up.
Yeah.
The littlest things in sports add up. I mean, you know, as a gambler, I used to always say the spot of the ball. Like I would watch, I still do, but even more intently when I was gambling heavily, the spot of a ball and the referee. Like I would literally remember where a referee spotted the ball in the first quarter, 4 minutes left on the 3rd and 6. I remember that tomorrow night. You focus on so many things in the game that, you know, you're so involved in the game. I mean, obviously, you know,
Your money's in.
you can't help yourself.
Yeah.
You know, every little detail of the game makes a difference when your money's on the line, you know. So I'm sure gamblers out there that had the Giants plus 3.5 right now are going through their mind. You kick the field goal, kick the extra point, you know,
We're just about there.
we're a half point in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are 2 critical decisions that potentially cost money.
And they could have been easy coaching decisions to make, especially that extra point is like, you know, how do you go for 2 when 1 puts you in a position to tie it with a touchdown?
Right.
You don't have to do anything special. You get your touchdown, your extra point, you're
Right.
tied. If you want to be a Tommy Tough Nuts and go for a 2-point conversion to win at the end of the game, okay,
Right.
I'm not going to fault you for that. But now you got to get a 2-point just to tie.
Right. Yeah, that was a terrible call.
Yeah.
Terrible decision. The play calling was okay. I mean, it should have been caught, but
But the
to
decision
go
was
for 2 there was a bad decision. They're going to attempt a field goal.
George
George
Hill. Thank you.
He's got a lot of confidence in this young man. Because if he misses it, great field position. No timeouts for the Giants.
Thanks, Whitney.
Witten's just repeating everything you're saying now.
Back them up. See Eli Manning in this beat up offense. And that offensive line can go down the length of the field.
Washington's hanging around in this Washington Portland league. Minute 40 left. Morris just got a layup and foul. Going line. Potentially tied the game with a minute 40 left. The field goal in 4th and 3. 56-yard attempt. Right at the 2-minute warning.
Snap good, hold good. Put his leg through it.
Good.
That's game over, I think. I mean, you always got a chance for an onside kick or whatever, but
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I mean, the Giants had their opportunities in this game, though, to be completely in it at this time. I mean, they you know, as we talked about for the majority of this second half, they squandered a couple red zone opportunities. And, you know, on the road kicking field goals is never, very rarely is it a recipe for a victory, especially in the dome.
right.
You know, you don't have any weather elements, you don't really have anything going against your flow of an offense. You know, you got to get touchdowns in the red zone in the dome.
Yeah, they gave up. They squandered too many chances for points.
Yeah. So
That's why bad teams lose, like you said. Bad teams find a way to lose.
Find a way to lose. Always do, always will.
Wizards 62-60 with a minute 15 left in the half. So it's probably going to finish within a couple points either way.
Potential of a very exciting second half in this game. Interesting to see here if Atlanta pressures Eli, if they sit back and give up some yards here on this. Obviously, they don't really have much to lose by giving up any yardage on this possession.
Falcons with the worst overall record and the best record in division.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a. Tell you, this division's going to be a dog fight for sure. For sure. You got Atlanta that's ultra talented on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is severely injured, which is another reason it's amazing. The Giants, and look at this bomb.
Oh my goodness. And there's the defense coming out to haunt them. Because the one thing you can't do here is give up a quick touchdown. Yeah.
Right. And the crazy thing is, you need 11 points. Do you kick the field goal and then go for an onside kick? You no matter what, you need an onside kick to happen.
Right.
So you try to save as much time as possible. I mean, obviously they're not going to do that, but that's something to consider.
Yeah. I mean,
You got to get to 11 points somehow.
right now that you're inside the 20 and first down, in this much time you go for a touchdown. But
Under a minute, you got to kick the field goal.
yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think if you get to a fourth down too, right here in this spot, you kick the field goal.
Right.
I mean, that may be just common sense, but I think you're in this range here. There might be a temptation to try to take advantage of the red zone, so to speak. But they've been bad in the red zone tonight.
Yeah. You get the ball to Barkley
Yeah,
somehow right now.
they've been better between the 20s, and a lot of NFL teams are like that, but a lot of defenses are set up to defend that way. Eli evaded that nicely. Come on now.
Jeez.
I'll tell you what.
Can't have a 6-yard pass there.
No. The guy caught the ball with a chance to keep running, and instead, he stopped to try to make a juke move.
Right.
You got to just keep running.
You keep running or get down. One or the other.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself up and get on the line of scrimmage. The juke move there is going to get you one more yard.
And lose time.
Jesse James did not even close.
He's down.
He was down. You better go up and spike the ball now.
They're letting
And
the
the
clock
clock
run
is just running.
while the Falcons are over here laying on the ball.
But last year, this was incomplete for Jesse James. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a horrible play call. You got Saquon Barkley in the backfield. You run the Eli Manning and QB sneak with the clock running.
And now it's down to 38 seconds. No timeouts left. Wizards, Portland tied at halftime, 62-all.
I can't believe they didn't spike the ball there.
This is dumb. Again,
Doing it again? You gotta be kidding me. What the fuck are they, what are they doing?
17 seconds left.
And this is another thing where bettors will be sick because if they were to score, they're not gonna, oh my God. You got it. Touchdown.
Yes, a touchdown. So they
But
did get that.
just wasted 50 seconds off the clock there.
Yeah, it was insane.
Literally.
This is something that coaches should get fired over right here. That right there, the clock mismanagement should get somebody fired.
Right, that's brutal. Can't have that.
No. Even Witten saying first down the clock.
Right. Well, this is for the bettors here.
Yeah.
You got a 23-18 game.
It's 5 points now, but if you get the 2-point
It's a
conversion,
3.5.
you're good with the 3.5. How about that? So every better in the country is holding their breath right now. That's on this game.
Right.
And they got it with a run. No
Yeah.
less. I mean, even Witten saying it's unacceptable. The thing is, if I'm the Mara family right now, this coach is done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't have it.
You can't have that.
Pat Shermer's a bad coach.
Pat Shermer is in the league because of his dad, Fritz Shermer.
Yeah.
He had his chance with the Browns 3 years ago, and he was awful. He was horrible with the Browns. Just dreadful as a head coach. His name got him where he is. You know, it's just a reality. He was good coordinator at the Vikings, like we talked about a while ago. You know, taking that step over 2 feet to the right or the left to take over responsibility and duties of a head coach. Not successful. He wasn't successful in Cleveland. You could say the team around him, the team he had, but just the play call. You know, the management of the club, you said. Those things, no matter what kind of talent you have, come out and show.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that last 58 seconds of this game was probably the worst play calling, easily the worst play calling of this weekend, if not the season, by a coach. I mean, that's unexcusable. Like the press conference, for him to answer these questions would be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Starting with why'd you go for 2 versus kicking an extra point, and then at the end of this game, why in the hell
Didn't you spike the
did you
ball?
spike the ball? And then run 2 QB sneaks back to back with the clock running.
Yeah.
You can't get out of that. You can't get out of that. There's no excuse for that.
None. Zero. So then on the other side, just now, Giants tried a little pop-up kick to try to get a chance to catch it and maybe have attempt at a field goal. Only option they had.
Right.
Obviously, it's not an easy play to convert, but look what the Falcons did. Who did they have over there? Julio Jones.
Right.
Julio Jones ran back, the best guy with the hands on your team
Right.
to secure that win.
Yep.
They did what they had to do to secure the win.
Right.
You put your best receiver on
best.
special teams to get the ball.
Absolutely. Yep. Coaching. Yeah, that's it. I mean, in all reality, the Giants wouldn't deserve this game, but they absolutely shit the bed in the last minute of the game.
They had a
opportunity.
They had a shot. If you look back over this whole game,
Oh yeah.
they didn't get blown out. Obviously, the 3-point score is pretty indicative of how well they played. Well, in quotation marks, but how they were in this game. Scott Van Pelt with the line, right?
Yep. He's always on top of the gambling side of things. Always. Scotty Van Pelt. He's always got his edge on the gambling. Him and Stanford Steve.
Gotta love it.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Just his little, his facial expression. He said that. You like that play at the end? Did you win?
Yeah, exactly. That was directly towards everybody out there to put money
Yeah.
on the game. 100%. 100%. Halftime of the Wizards Blazers game. A little focus on the Lakers Spurs here. Spurs up 46-37. Just under 8 minutes left in the second quarter.
I like the Lakers. If there was a fluid bet on this one, let's take a look at that live line and see, because depending on what that live line is, I'm going to give my take on that. Because I got a feeling about this here. With 8 minutes left to go in the half, Lakers down by 7.
Lakers are plus 3.5 right now.
Plus 3.5 at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Over under 239.5 right now.
Yeah. I like the over. I like the over.
Yeah, there's a lot of points right now. 8 minutes left in the second quarter.
I think that line is a smart line. I was thinking it would be a little bit higher for the Lakers. Not much higher. I was thinking somewhere in the range of plus 5 exactly. That 3.5 gives me pause, and I would say just at this moment, I would stay on the San Antonio side of things. If the line changes at all to go like 4.5, 5, I might say go Lakers. But at the moment, I'd stay on the San Antonio side of things. 3.5.
This Wizards game we've been on most of the night is 62.5. Wizards plus 2.5 right now. Over under 237.5. I think that over could hit.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. Both teams are obviously scoring well right now. They're at 124.
Yeah. I like the over.
There's not much going to slow down either's team. The guard play is too good
Yep.
for both teams.
I
You
like
have good guard play, you're going to have points.
absolutely. I like Portland to win by more than 2.5. I think just like the earlier Milwaukee game, the home team finds a way to pull away just at the end. It will be a close game, regardless of the final score being, a 4, 5, 6, 7 point spread for Portland. That won't be indicative of the fact that it was a close game all the way to the end. But you're going to have those fouls. You're going to have those little possessions here and there on the road. They've been at home for 3 games. They've been at home since the season started. So they're waking up out of their bed. They're going home to their bed tonight. Washington might lose a little steam towards the end.
Right. Yeah, it's I think we're going to be in for a fun second half in that game for sure. The Laker game's going to be interesting. Anytime you have LeBron on the court, obviously everybody out there knows you have a chance to win against any team. It's going to be a hard game just because San Antonio though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best coach in the league. The talent level there is obviously not what it was, but I feel DeMar DeRozan, is right there on par with some of the best players in the league. He's a top 10 guy in the league. He struggled in the playoffs against LeBron for the last 3 years.
Who doesn't with the Warriors?
Right. So, but the Spurs are a force. You still have DeMarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gay, Gasol, and you add DeRozan to that mix, or losing Kawhi. DeRozan's going to fill in just right for them.
Absolutely. Well, we've been streaming live tonight for the second half of the Monday Night Football, Butchered Sports, and talking some about the NBA games that have been live. We've been on for a little over 2 hours. We might take a little break just to let this capture here and restart a live stream for the second half of the Lakers game. All right. Hopefully you'll join us. Hopefully you'll catch us on replay. If you like it, subscribe, hit the notifications. All right.
Hope to see you later, fellas and ladies.
That just took us a minute, I think.